Let's just jump right in. We're talking about one of the biggest, most important shifts a trader can ever make. It's about moving away from what feels like emotional gambling and turning your trading into a real, disciplined business. We're going to build the blueprint that puts your brain, not your gut, in the driver's seat.
So let me ask you a question, and be really honest with yourself. Think about your last couple of trades. Who was actually calling the shots? Was it the cool, rational you who did all the homework? Or was it a feeling? You know, that jolt of fear when the market dipped, or maybe that rush of greed when a stock was just taking off? The answer to that question, well, it changes everything.
And this really breaks it down, right? You've got two kinds of traders out there. On one side, you have the trader who's all over the place, driven by emotion, super inconsistent. Then you've got the other side, the successful trader. And what's their secret? They operate with discipline because they're following a plan. It's not about being a genius, it's about being systematic.
Okay, so how do you get from that emotional, inconsistent side over to the disciplined side? Well, you've got to build a bridge. And that bridge, that guide that gets you there, that's your trading plan. This is the blueprint we're talking about.
Let's be super clear about what this is. A trading plan is not some vague idea you have in your head. It is a written document. It's a concrete set of rules that covers everything, your whole strategy, your rules for getting in and out, how you manage risk, and its number one job, to be the firewall between you and your own worst emotional impulses.
So look, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. When the market is going crazy and your heart's pounding, you don't have to guess, you don't have to panic, you just execute. You follow the plan, not your feelings. That right there is the principle that changes the entire game.
All right, so we get the why. That makes sense. But what does this blueprint actually look like? What are the nuts and bolts? Let's dive into the anatomy of a trading plan and see how to actually build one of these things.
A solid plan is really built on these 5 key pillars. First, you've got to define your overall strategy. What kind of trader are you going to be? Then you need specific triggers, your entry rules that scream, okay, now's the time to get in. Just as important, maybe more important, are your exit rules. That's for taking profits and for cutting your losses. Next, you got to manage your money with clear risk management rules, like how much you'll bet on any single trade. And finally, a plan isn't something you just write and forget. You have to schedule regular reviews to see what's working and what isn't. It's a living, breathing system.
And this shows you just how specific we need to be. We are not talking about fuzzy goals here. We're talking about hard, non-negotiable rules. What exactly are you going to trade? At what specific price or signal will you take your profit? At what point do you admit you were wrong, take the loss, and get out, no matter what? And how much money, down to the percentage point, are you willing to risk? You make these decisions with a cool head now, so you don't have to make them in the heat of the moment.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Vague plans lead to vague results. If your rule is something like, I'll sell when it feels high enough, you've already lost. Being specific is your best defense against your own emotions.
All right, so you did the work, you drafted the perfect blueprint, the rules are clear, they're specific, they're written down. You might be thinking, great, I'm done. Well, the easy part is over. Now the real battle begins. It's time for the discipline test.
Because see, writing the plan, that's an act of logic. It's calm, it's rational, it's you at your best. But following that plan, that's an act of pure will. That's what happens when the market is throwing you a curveball and every fiber of your being is screaming to just throw the plan out the window.
And this might be the most important sentence in this entire explainer. Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. Most traders don't fail because their strategy was bad. They fail because they had a good strategy and they couldn't bring themselves to follow it. The breakdown is almost always in the execution.
To put it another way, a trading plan that just sits in a drawer is completely worthless. It's just ink on paper. Its power isn't in its creation. Its power is in applying it every single day, especially on the days you really don't want to. So, what do we do with all this? We have to turn this idea into action. It's time to go from being a learner, just soaking this stuff in, to being a planner, someone who's actually building their own blueprint for success. So let's just recap the big takeaways here. 1. If you're trading without a plan, you're basically just trading on emotion. It's a gamble. 2. A written, specific plan is your essential blueprint for discipline. And 3. The real secret weapon isn't finding some magic plan. It's having the guts and the discipline to follow the plan you already have. And that brings us to the end. The theory part is over. Now it's your turn. I want you to imagine a blank document sitting in front of you. It's your personal trading blueprint. Forget about all the complicated stuff for a second. What's the single most important, non-negotiable, #1 rule you're going to write down? That's where this whole journey really begins.